Hey y'all, I just watched Avatar Fire and Ash, and here's what I thought about it. In this video, I will be going over story, pacing, and visuals. Quick note about spoilers, I will be revealing some minor plot and story spoilers, however, nothing specific regarding the ending or final act of the film. I'm confident you can watch this video before watching the film. Honestly, I am not the biggest fan of the Avatar franchise. I think there's a lot of great things about it, especially the visuals, but I think the storytelling in these films are extremely generic and really just not very well written. Despite that, however, for some reason, these films just make billions of dollars, and it's one of the biggest franchises ever. While I may not love the franchise, I just had to go see this film because clearly this is going to be a cultural event. 16 years after the first film, this franchise is still going strong with a $345 million opening weekend and noticeably less social media buzz. This film had noticeably worse critic reviews as well, with many saying that it just feels like the same repetitive ideas and story for the third time. And sure, I guess if you look at the bare bones of this film, that could be true. I, however, find this movie to actually be pretty different than the other two, especially the second one, as it feels like a conclusion of the story so far rather than a continuation. One thing that I had pointed out to me on social media was that Quaritch's arc in this film almost exactly mirrors Sully's from the first film, as he slowly integrates himself into the Fire Tribe throughout the film. I think that this is actually a really smart direction to take this character, as it directly contrasts the main character and villain, taking them down the same path with them going down different directions. This film is actually filled with a lot of good ideas like this. The problem is just that I don't think it does a good job at developing any of them. See, this film was designed to be a natural stopping point for the franchise in case the other two films were never to be made. So it has the job of completing every single arc that was set up in the previous film. Even for an almost 3.5 hour film, there is just too much stuff to handle in this film. Three of Jake's kids all have separate complete storylines. Jake and his wife both have their own storylines. Quaritch and his fire chief girlfriend have storylines. The RDA have their own goals. The Water Clan have their own goals. Hell, even the whales from the last film have a big role in this story. This is just simply too much to properly develop in this time frame. That's the thing though, I think this film actually does a good job at explaining everything. All of these storylines make sense as to why these characters are doing what they're doing. A lot of times with such bloated stories like this, events kind of just happen because they need to for the plot. But Avatar 3, at the very least, has an extremely long runtime so it can explain all these events. There is almost nothing in this film where I was confused as to why a character did something or how something happened, which is a good thing. The big problem is that none of these storylines get proper time to actually be developed. While everything is properly explained, many things are not properly developed beyond that. Take the Fire Tribe, for example. It's explained pretty early in the film that the reason they want to align with the RDA is because they believe their god, Awa, has abandoned them. I think that this again is a really interesting premise because it's such a stark contrast to all the other Pandoran tribes we have seen up to this point in the franchise. But then this idea is just never brought up again. It just feels like many of the ideas here are literally just to explain a character's actions and are not there to be developed. Like, this idea with the Fire Tribe could have had such an interesting ramifications on the story and the choices that these characters made, but no, they kind of just stay the same the whole film. And pretty much every character is like this. Everything here is just so generic, which is crazy to say with such an inventive franchise like Avatar. There were very little moments in this story that actually surprised me. I was left kind of just bored the whole time. Most of these plot lines, I could kind of just guess where they were headed, and so a lot of the time I felt bored and uninterested in these characters. A lot of the characters here kind of just feel like tools to make the plot move forward or create drama that can be used in the final act. Even main characters like Courage and especially Sully just don't really do much in this film to move their stories along, and it's kind of boring the whole time. It's not bad at all though, and I think that's a clear distinction to make. I don't love this franchise, and so I'm not really invested in these characters, but for those who are, I think they would really love this film. This film is pretty fine in the writing department for the most part, besides a few cringy lines, and the acting is overall decent as well. A lot of fans of this franchise don't care that these plotlines aren't fleshed out, because to them, they understand how important these actions are for these characters and this world that they just don't really care. And that's why I think there's such a clear difference between critic and audience scores for this film. Audiences have a stronger connection to these characters and are just so excited with how these character arcs are being continued and what is happening in the story. But for me, someone who doesn't care much about this world or story, I want some kind of stronger connection to these characters to keep me going, and this film just doesn't offer that. That's why, while I don't think this story is exactly bad or anything, it is honestly just pretty generic and brings the film down for me just a bit. The much bigger issue with this film, however, is just the pacing. See, you'd think that with so many plots going on, the pacing would feel pretty brisk, with a new reveal or character moment every couple minutes. The thing is just that this film is so lopsided and it really hurts the pacing. Like, this film will kind of just pick up and then drop characters and plot lines, which leads to so much of this film being exposition and setting up other characters' arcs. Take, for example, Spider, who is essentially the main focus of like the first hour of the film, and then takes a real backseat for the rest of it. Or Kiri, who is used maybe 3 times throughout the film, which is obviously not good for such a long film. I was just so bored out of my mind this whole time because the pacing is just so slow. So many plot lines need the time to be set up and explained, and this film actually does give them that time. I just felt like so little was actually happening, and with this being such a long film, that's not good. I literally think, honestly, an entire hour could be cut from this film, and it would be much better for it. So many of these plots could be removed, and really not much would be lost. Like, for example, at one point in the film, a character gets captured by the RDA and needs to be saved. Literally 3 different people try to rescue this character, all in their own separate ways. Why do we need this many people trying to save this one person separately? As well as, honestly, what purpose does this entire portion of this film serve at all? Besides a cool action scene, this entire 20-minute portion could be cut and the film wouldn't lose much. So yeah, this film just tries to cram so much in here that it just really hurts the pacing. While I like that it tries to cram everything into potentially one last film, it just makes the movie way longer than it ever needed to be, and I think that with how there will most likely be a 4th film, it just wasn't worth it whatsoever. Now, with this film, it's just left with too much downtime, with plot progression happening at a snail's pace, and it makes this film extremely boring for me. But who goes to see Avatar for the story? I bet not many people. And yeah, the visuals in this film just look absolutely fantastic. I saw someone say that the goal for this film was to not be able to discern between what's practical and what's CGI. And yeah, that was 100% accomplished for 95% of this film. I literally cannot figure out what is real and what is fake, because the amount of detail that was poured into this film is just so fantastic. Every single thing about the graphics just show how technically advanced this film is, and shows why this franchise is so popular. This film is absolutely breathtaking. even the Navi, for example, just look actually real, or as real as blue aliens can be. The facial animations, wrinkles on their face, everything just looks entirely real. The water in this film as well is a real standout, looking somehow even better than real running water. The use of color in this film really helps create just these fantastically realized shots with stunning visuals, and it's really just such a treat to see, even in standard viewing. While I may not love this film, I think it's worth it to see at least once just because of how impressive this film is technically. But comparing it to the film before it, I gotta say, I don't think this film is as much of a leap forward or even as technically impressive. While yes, this is only 3 years apart from the previous film, I just wish that they would have come up with some kind of big draw, and it just doesn't have that. I think they could have really utilized fire and colored lighting or something, but besides one really cool shot, I don't think this film really does that. On top of that, I think this film isn't as visually unique as the other two films. Like, this film really just shows a lot of the same locations again. The Tree of Life, the Water Village, that weird stone circle mountain thing. The new locations we do get are kind of just generic looking forests or RDA bases, and it's just a real letdown cinematography wise. Maybe it's just because I'm used to like the Ubisoft game with how breathtaking that looks, but this film looks kind of boring in comparison. I think this film doesn't do a great job at expanding the world of Pandora, and I think that it's for one key reason. This is not really a sequel to The Way of Water, more like a part 2 of that film. A lot of that film's plot lines are continued here, and it features a lot of the same locations and so on. I think that could be why so many people think this film is really just the same thing again, because in a lot of ways it is. It's just more of the second film, and like, yeah, at face value, that's bad, but if you take this movie for what it is, it's a pretty decent continuation of that film and ending to this first trilogy. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty mixed on this film. While the visuals and graphics are absolutely fantastic, the cinematography and story are just a bit generic looking, as well as some pretty terrible pacing, which makes the movie extremely boring. I think the visuals elevate this film a lot, but the pacing really detracts from it. So what's left is a pretty generic blockbuster film with some cool action scenes and a cool world. I think Avatar fans, and maybe even some non-Avatar fans, may love this, as they might not care about the story or pacing as much. But for me, I just found this movie to be fine. Not bad, but not great, or even pretty good. I would say this film is maybe slightly above average and overall good. I do not recommend Avatar Fire and Ash unless maybe you're a fan of the franchise or want to see some pretty cool visuals. 6 out of 10. Well, y'all, that's my review of Avatar Fire and Ash. I would really appreciate it if you could like, comment, or even subscribe. Please also make sure to check out my TikTok, which is the same username as my YouTube. That's all I have for this review, but I do want to take the last few moments to talk a little bit about me and my channel. Okay, so you may notice that this is a different background than normal, and that's because I'm actually home. So I took my fursuit with me home so I could record some videos. Also, probably by the time I get this video out, it will have been 10 days since I uploaded my last video. So a lot of stuff happened in the sense of like I had exams, like an exam week. So I had my final exam one day. The next day I had to work, and then the next day I saw this movie. So I'm filming this on the 23rd. I saw Avatar Fire and Ash on the 18th. And yeah, I wrote this script on the 22nd, so that was a 4-day gap. And there was that gap because on the day I was going to go see Avatar, I was going to go see it with my friends. my friend and his friends, he kind of just invited his friends without asking me, even though it was my idea to go to the movie, which is fine, because I like hanging out with them too. But also, like, I just really didn't want to go with them that day because I wanted to just go home and I didn't want to have to worry about anything else. And that was like the last thing. So the morning of that, my boyfriend wakes me up because we FaceTime together every night. He fucking wakes me up at 8 a.m. to say something, which is whatever. But then I'm like, I can't breathe right now. I had this like weird like shortness of breath in my chest where I would breathe in and it would just feel like I need to breathe more. So that was so weird. I've never had that happen before, and I couldn't fall back asleep because every time I would lay down, I felt like I was gonna faint. So that's not good. I went to go still see the movie. I didn't go with those friends because that got canceled. So I went by myself. But this breathing feeling didn't go away. By the way, it was happening the entire movie. So that might be why this review is so negative. Yeah, but anyways, like this breathing issue literally did not go away. It's like kind of still around even today. I had to go to the ER. Was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. And they did like EKG, echo, x-ray. It's all normal. They said it's like a stress thing, whatever, right? But what I'm trying to say is like, not only have I had like an exam and work and I'm home now, but I had this weird issue that I've never had before. So that really made me like not be able to record and not want to record. I didn't want to write this script. I just started playing the Avatar DLC, which is like so annoying. I'm probably not going to beat it for so long. So I'm going to have to spend Christmas Day when I get my Switch 2 literally making this fucking Avatar video. Whatever. But yeah, like I'm home now. I brought my fursuit home. A little worried about it, but whatever. Also Jeff's shirt. I like put my neck thing into my shirt because I want to show off my Jeff. If I look stupid, that's why. I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing that. We'll see. But yeah, like I'll be home, so this will be my background for a while. Yeah, the next video will be Avatar, and then probably after that will be my year-end ranking video. So I want to beat Avatar, I want to beat Donkey Kong Bonanza, and I want to beat Destiny Rising so I can put them all in the ranking, and then I'll have 40 things to rank, and then that's what that will be. But yeah, I want to get that done by New Year's. That's definitely not gonna happen, so probably just first week of January, and then of course before then I'll have the Avatar. But yeah, like I definitely don't like how it's been so long since I've not made anything. You know, I don't like it, but whatever. Sometimes that's just how it is, and this isn't my job, so it's okay. I want to try over 2026. Like my goal is to post once a week. So currently I have 8 video ideas. This is one of them. So that should be good for 2 months or whatever. But yeah, like, you know, we'll see what happens with YouTube. My TikTok is doing really well. I have like 560 followers in less than 2 months. So yay. But yeah, like, that's all I gotta say. One more thing I want to say. So I haven't uploaded on TikTok for like 8 or 9 days. And my routine review was the last thing I uploaded. That is now my second biggest TikTok ever. I've gotten over 100 followers from that video. And it's also my worst YouTube video ever performing, which sucks because I think it's actually my best YouTube video yet. So, you know, I'm gonna keep trying with YouTube. I'm not gonna stop doing YouTube. I like doing YouTube. But yeah, I really need to wrap this up. So yeah, Avatar fucking From the Ashes should be coming in next week. But yeah, guys, that's all I gotta say today. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye!